All right, we're going to hop on with a live update. So, should see some updates here to the warning. So, we actually have no warnings in effect in the tri-state right now. The only potential warning that we'd have would be with this tornadic storm that's down in the Paducah, Kentucky area. That would be pushing towards Hopkins County here shortly. Here across the metro, we do have some scattered showers and thunderstorms that have developed. They are below severe limits right now, but they are in a favorable environment where we have a ample amount of instability where we're looking at CAPE values of about 3,500 joules per kilogram. That's more than supportive enough for some very large hail. So that's one thing we'll keep an eye on as these storms fire across the tri-state here. Otherwise, right now, everything's been tame and calm, mainly just supercell down here in Paducah. Did produce a tornado earlier. They did drop the observed tag with that, so I believe there's not a tornado on the ground. There have been some pictures of very large hail there in the Paducah area, potentially even bigger than baseball or softball size hail. So with that, those CAPE values of 3,500 or more, that's going to support very large hail if any storms to get going. Biggest struggle right now that I'm seeing potentially is these storms are being sheared apart just by the amount of shear across southern Illinois and southwest Indiana. Back towards the Paducah area, shear's not as impressive, so I think that's why that supercell down there is not having really any issues, struggling to maintain itself. So shear values across southwest Indiana and western Kentucky are 77, or excuse me, southwest Indiana, southern Illinois are 70 to 75 knots. Back across western Kentucky, more on order of 60 to 65 knots. That's for your effective shear. Your surface shear is still running about 60 knots across western Kentucky. And then here across southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, we're looking at 80 knot shear. So kind of curious if shear's kind of inhibiting these storms, kind of cutting the tops off these storms and preventing them from really taking off. Obviously, we have plenty of instability. Lapse rates are good, but I'm thinking we probably have a little too much as far as shear. Really, as far as parameters for tornadoes, especially with helicity values, the best values are across southern Illinois and southeast Missouri. Once you get into tri-state here, our helicity values are practically nil. Right now, the best tornadic potential is off to the west of the tri-state right now. We'll continue to keep an eye on things right now. Again, where these new storms are firing across Henderson, Webster, into portions of Warwick and Union County, we got about 3,500 joules per kilogram as far as CAPE, so those storms could feed off that. But again, if the tops are being sheared off those storms, then those updrafts are not going to be able to go up and tap into that real cold air aloft. So right now, nothing severe with those storms, not seeing much in the way of winds or anything like that, no rotation. Down at Paducah, again, that's where the strongest storm is at right now. Take a look at a couple other parameters here. Again, we did kind of lose sunshine as the tops blew off these storms when they were back in southeast Missouri. So that kind of cut our sunshine off a little bit, but we still have plenty of instability that would support severe storms, especially large hail, potentially baseball size or bigger. So the cold front is still back to the west, so about pushed through St. Louis area, then runs back to just east of Springfield, Missouri. So until that cold front pushes through, we still have that severe potential to continue. But again, right now, the only supercell of note that is of concern is down in the Paducah area, and that will be pushing into Hopkins County here in about the next 30 to 60 minutes here. So times of arrival there, so Eddyville by 5:42, that's the latest time, so that would be getting towards the 6 o'clock hour here for Hopkins County if this continues to maintain rotation. Again, the hail, the main concern with the hail is actually north of Paducah now. We're looking at it from the Evansville radar right now because pretty much the storm's sitting on top of the Paducah radar, so we're not really getting a good look at it. But all your hail right now is located across Metropolis, getting ready to move into Smithland and Dykesburg here. Again, that would be pushing towards Eddyville and Princeton, Kentucky. Again, some very impressive hail with this storm so far. So we'll keep an eye on that as it continues to push off to the east. Again, that's the main concern on the board right now for severe weather. I'm looking at another product behind the scenes here on a different radar. And that large hail is probably pushing through the Paducah area. There is a hook onto that storm that runs back towards Lone Oak, just to the south of I-24 there in the Paducah vicinity. That's kind of where you can see it here on our radar program. But these brighter purples, that's where you're going to see that large hail right there in that area as well. Coming back north, back towards Henderson, Spotsville, you can see those reflectivity values starting to increase towards Niagara. Let me go ahead and pull up our tower cam out of Henderson. We'll take a look, see what we're seeing from there. Get that loaded up real quick. We're going to turn this to look to the south. Well, we might get it to load up here. We'll see. Throw the radar back up while we try to get that loaded up. Get this loaded again real quick. Again, so far quiet here in the tri-state, just some general showers and thunderstorms pushing through the tri-state. Nothing severe right now, but we're going to monitor those storms as they push across Henderson County here. Again, could be seeing some small hail between Spotsville back towards Niagara. That's where the main severe potential would be right now. If we're seeing anything severe, that would be in terms of hail. Zoom out a little bit here. Again, another strong storm supercell that's pushing just north of the tri-state, so that will stay north of Vincennes and Knox County. Again, you can see that orange box there that indicates considerable hail and damaging wind threat. So you'll see that pop up on our screen whenever the Weather Service puts those considerable tags on those storms. So far, so good here in the tri-state. Going to go ahead and try to spin this camera to the south here. We got a pretty good look at it. See if we can get it to load up here on your broadcast. Yeah, that's US 60 here. We're looking to the southeast, and you can see that line of storms here. Racing off to the northeast again. The shear is pretty impressive, so these storms are kind of moving at a good clip so far. Again, nothing severe yet in the tri-state. We're going to monitor this storm in Henderson as this line's really starting to blow up here. Again, this is a pretty favorable area as far as instability, pretty much south of I-64, so Posey, Vandenberg, Warwick. Again, any storms that can fire would definitely have a severe potential. Again, new supercell back here that's fired, getting ready to cross the Mississippi River. We'll keep an eye on that as that crosses the river again. That's kind of where the cold front's at. So short-term model guidance has kind of been back and forth. Initially, just had one wave coming through the metro. I think it's going to kind of be more two waves. This first wave definitely isn't anything right now. but we're still going to watch these storms as they continue to fire up across Henderson, Spencer, and push it into Davies and Webster County, and also McLean County. Again, some hail will be possible with these storms. Again, right now below severe limits, but something we got to keep an eye on. Again, if you're in Hopkins County, down in Dawson Springs, Madisonville, even Muhlenberg County, you guys want to be ready for this storm that's going to be pushing into the county in about the next hour or so. Again, has produced some tornadoes earlier, definitely producing very large hail. So baseball size hail would be possible, especially as this continues to push off to the east. Again, right now, nothing severe in the metro again. We're looking at this storm that's pushing through Henderson County. Again, not seeing much in the way of lightning or anything with that. Try to see if I can turn this a little bit more further to the east. Obviously, you see we're getting some good winds as our camera's rocking back and forth. Definitely see the rain shaft here coming down, but again, not seeing. There's some lightning right there, so see if that continues to increase. Again, on our other program we have behind the scenes here, we have a program that will notify us whenever lightning starts to increase. Again, still looking at some considerable amount of hail and size there in the Paducah, just to the east of Paducah. Be pushing into Calvert City, Smithland, Dykesburg, Eddyville here over the next 30 minutes. So if you're down in that area, expect some substantial hail, up to 3 inches in diameter. Again, our Cape values support that very large hail threat here across the tri-state. So hail will definitely be an issue with any storms that fire. That's kind of what we're keeping an eye on here across Henderson, getting ready to push into Davies County, Kentucky. Put the radar into motion here. You can see how this supercell's been tracking pretty much along the Ohio River, getting ready to push just north of the lakes area there in western Kentucky. Did have a tornado touchdown with this storm when it was back near the Sykes, Missouri area. So some damage reports coming in there. Not seeing much in the way of damage reports from Paducah, mainly just hail reports. That's all that's coming in so far. Again, we're looking at this storm that's in Henderson here. That's what's on your screen. So, again, a sub-severe storm at this point, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it as it tries to fire up. We'll go back to the radar here. You can see the radar in motion there, seeing how those storms have blossomed there across Henderson County, getting ready to push into Davies County, Kentucky. Again, back to the west of Evansville, not seeing a whole lot right now. We zoom out a little bit, and you can see where the storms are firing along the cold front. That will continue to push off to the east, so we'll keep an eye on this storm that's near Chester, Missouri. Did have a tornado warning on it earlier, but now has a considerable tag for hail and damaging winds. But you can see that tornado warning for Perryville. Another storm back near Piedmont. We'll keep an eye on that as well. So any of these storms, especially with them being out on their own, could produce tornadoes, very large hail, and even damaging winds. But models are kind of depicting this blowing up into a line of storms. And if that's the case, then that's where we're concerned about the damaging winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. So we'll continue to see if this fires up and forms a line. That's the expectation for the storms along the cold front. The storms ahead of the cold front here, that was the concern for the supercells that could potentially produce some strong tornadoes. Again, so far, across southern Illinois and southwest Indiana, these storms have struggled. I'm thinking it's more to do with the shearing the storms apart. So as those storms kind of moved in here to our area, they've really kind of lost their punch from what they had back in southern Illinois and Missouri. So we'll go back to Henderson, Davies County again. Some of these purples, we could be seeing a little bit of small hail there. So some near the Hatfield area getting ready to push into the Rio area. Maybe a little bit here just to the south of Spotsville, but really not a whole lot going on. Some showers pushing through the metro. Again, nothing severe with those. Again, main tornado warning that's on the board is down here in the Paducah area. You can see that hook there, kind of the classic supercell signature there. Again, it's just a Doppler radar indicated tornado right now. Nothing's been confirmed on the ground. The only reports so far out of Paducah is just some very large hail, golf ball to baseball size, across most of Paducah is what I'm seeing here on the chat wire so far. So even some quarter size hail or more. Yeah, plenty of hail there across western Kentucky. Again, the instability in the atmosphere, 3,500 joules per kilogram, that's going to support very large hail. So that's kind of why we're seeing 3 to 4 inch diameter hail in spots. We'll go ahead and take a look at the mesoanalysis. We don't really have a whole lot going on here in the tri-state. So we'll load our CAPE values up here. So this is your instability in the atmosphere. So you can see 3,300 joules per kilogram here in Evansville, 3,500 in Henderson. Down near Paducah, that's where we're seeing almost 4,000 joules per kilogram. Again, CAPE values in this bright white area will support large hail. So pretty much along and south of I-64, that's kind of been our thought as far as the main severe threat, as far as tornadoes, very large hail with this first wave. So pretty much anything along and south of I-64 that can fire and maintain, then definitely could see some very large hail, maybe even some tornadoes. Again, we don't really have a cap in place anymore. That cap's eroded, so we're cap free across western Kentucky, even along and south of 64. A little bit of a cap here across southern Illinois. It's probably inhibiting a little bit of development there. Let's take a look at 850 winds. Again, so we do expect the low-level jet to ramp up, so you can kind of see that's back here along the cold front where we're seeing 50 to 60 mile-an-hour winds in the low levels of the atmosphere. We take a look at 700 millibar winds. Again, you can kind of see those kicking up back here towards Mount Vernon. Get that to load up here. So 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds, mid-levels of the atmosphere. Then we take a look at 500 millibars, and that's where we see it really ramping up, and that's kind of what we expected. We're looking at 100 to 90 to 100 mile-an-hour winds in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. So that's kind of where we're concerned with any storms that develop. Again, this is 500 millibar absolute vortices. So you can see this vort max is pushing through. That's kind of what's firing these storms here. A little bit of a vort max back here to the west is firing storms along the cold front. Other than that, not a whole lot going on as far as severe weather-wise. These are echo tops, so this kind of gives you the height of these storms in meters. Again, pretty decent echo tops on those. We'll go back to the radar here and take a look at what's going on across the area. And we'll pull up the telestrator and we'll kind of mark what's going on where across the tri-state. Again, this is where your cold front is located. Got a little wavy there. So severe threats over behind this front. This is where we're kind of keeping an eye out for these supercell storms developing ahead of the line of storms. Again, this is a favorable environment pretty much along and south of this line. That's where your greatest tornado threat is. Up here, north of 64, that's where your greatest damaging wind threat is right now. So again, anything south of 64, that's kind of where we're concerned with tornadoes. Again, we're going to watch all these storms back here to see if they grow upscale into a line of storms. And if that happens, if this line continues to fill in, then we'll be looking at widespread damaging winds as these storms push through the tri-state. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on. Again, nothing confirmed as far as tornadoes on the ground or anything like that. So we are in the clear there. Mainly the only storm we're watching right now is down here near Paducah. Again, some storms have fired across Henderson and Spencer County. Again, those are sub-severe right now. They've kind of struggled to really take off. And the other storms that we're going to monitor are these storms back here that are crossing the Mississippi River, pushing into southern Illinois along the cold front. And if you're in Hopkins and Muhlenberg County, you guys need to be prepared in about the next 30 to 60 minutes for the supercell to push in. Again, still producing some very large hail, numerous reports of large hail. That's kind of pushing through Smithland and Calvert City right now. We'll be in the Eddyville area in about 30 minutes or so. Definitely some, let's see, 4-inch, 2.75 inch, even a 53 mile an hour wind gust measured there at the airport. Where the weather service is at in Paducah, just outside of Paducah. So definitely getting a lot of hail reports across the Paducah area as this line of storms pushed through that area. We'll go ahead and take a look at our tower cam again, looking back towards Henderson. We'll go ahead and spin that back around. Again, the traffic you see going by is US 60. Again, looking back to the west, that's where Highway 41 is. And we'll continue off to the north here. That's where the city of Henderson is. And looking off to the northeast, really not a whole lot going on here. Again, these storms have really struggled to take off here across the metro, and we'll see if that trend continues. So again, you can see our camera bouncing, a little bit of wind. Again, nothing severe, nothing imminent with these storms. Again, right now they're just some garden variety thunderstorms pushing through. We'll keep an eye on this storm a little bit, kind of showing a little bit of a tail. Switch back to the radar here. We'll see if that spins up into anything near Seabury. Right now, just nothing to be concerned with, but we'll watch it, see if it really takes off or not. We'll go ahead and I'll load up the Storm Prediction Center meso analysis page. That's what you guys see on your screen now. We'll kind of go through some of that and take a look at some of these parameters. And this is your 850 analysis here. So this tells us what the winds are in the lowest level of the atmosphere. So you see those 40 knot winds here pushing through the southeastern Illinois, far western Kentucky, southeast Missouri, Boot Hill. That will continue to advect off to the northeast. 500 millibar analysis. So that's where we're seeing winds of 70 knots there across most of the tri-state. Again, the main area of low pressure is well to the north, which was including, right now we just kind of have this warm front that's pushing off to the north, and then the cold front, which will move in from the west. A normalized Cape value, so when we're getting up to a 0.3 here, this is kind of where we're concerned with severe weather here. So obviously we're in a favorable zone here along and south of I-64. But so far, everything's been quiet as far as severe weather. Again, we'll be watching the line of storms as it moves in from the west. So you can see these 1200 values of D Cape. So that's your downdraft Cape. So definitely some downdraft winds would be possible with those storms making it down to the surface. So that's why we are concerned about the damaging winds. Again, starting to see the watch get canceled back to the west. That's back into southern Illinois. So nothing here in the tri-state. Lift indices, we're running about a -12, so plenty of lift for these storms to fire. Again, that's kind of what we're seeing with these storms trying to get going across Davies and Henderson County. So we do have plenty of lift for these storms to continue to grow aloft. Again, mid-level Cape value, so running about a 7 or 8, which is more than sufficient for severe weather. Even the low-level Cape values here are best across southwest Indiana and parts of western Kentucky. LCO heights, it's kind of what we keep an eye out for your lifted condensation levels. That's where your base of your cloud is, your lowest portion of your cloud. The lower we see these numbers, the more concerned you could be about tornadoes. So when you see 750 or 1,000, then that's where we're concerned about the potential for tornadoes. This is your lifted free convection level. So again, still looking at between 1,800, 600, and 1,200 there across a good part of the tri-state. We'll take a look at 3-hour surface base change so you can see how the instability has really increased here across southwest Indiana. New tornado warning coming out for southwestern Hopkins County. That will go until 6:15. So that was the storm that we were talking about that's coming out of Paducah. So we'll go back to the radar here. Go ahead and head south here. Whoop, wrong program here. And storm firing up pretty good there to the south of Stanley. So definitely could be seeing some hail with that storm. Again, this is where the tornado warning is. So Dawson Springs, you're included in that tornado warning. Again, St. Charles, right there along I-69. Again, you still got a little bit before the storm arrives, so definitely have time to seek shelter. Again, definitely want to treat it as a tornado is on the ground. Again, right now it is a Doppler radar indicated tornado, but this storm's been producing some significant hail, and we'll see that hail pushing through Fredonia, Eddyville, Dawson Springs. You're kind of in the line for some of that very large hail. So definitely want to put your car in a garage or a substantial shelter, especially if you don't want to see any damage. So if you're in Dawson Springs, you got till 6:06, and this storm will be knocking on your door. St. Charles at 6:14, Crofton at 6:17. You guys are just out of that polygon, but you want to be prepared for a warning there as well, as this storm is kind of pushing in that general direction. Again, I'm looking at a product behind the scenes. I'm not really overly concerned about the rotation right now. And if there is a potential tornado, it'd be near the Grand Rivers area, which would be back here where this hook is near Calvert City. But nothing's been confirmed by the Weather Service other than some large hail. That's all that's been reported so far. Getting back to the north, the storm that's staying just north of the tri-state. Again, some additional showers and storms firing across Martin County, Du Bois County, back into Spencer County. Again, strongest storm is getting ready to push into the Rockport, just north of Owensboro. Could see a little bit of hail with that, maybe some gusty winds, but nothing tornadic with that storm. Just some general showers pushing through Wart County. Again, all these storms back to the west are firing along the cold front. Again, we're going to continue to keep an eye on this and see if it continues to grow upscale, which would be the concern for embedded tornadoes and damaging winds with a QLCS type event. So again, that cold front will be pushing into the tri-state over the next hour or two. And then once you're behind this cold front, the severe weather threat is over for the night. So hopefully we'll get this over pretty quick, and before nightfall, hopefully we'll have everything out of here around 8, 9 o'clock here across the tri-state. But again, storms have struggled here, especially as they pushed into southeast Illinois and even southwest Indiana. Only this supercell here to the south, near the Paducah, that pushed through the Paducah area and getting ready to push into Hopkins County. That's the only storm that's been the storm of concern here in the tri-state. Otherwise, everything's been well below severe limits so far. Getting a lot of questions on the chat. So when will this hit Evansville? So what we're watching right now is this line of storms back off to the west here. So we're going to keep an eye on this supercell that's near Chester, Missouri. That would be pushing pretty much right along the Ohio River there. But we're going to see if this fills in. Again, forms that line of storms. Again, this is where that cold front is, but we'll zoom in a little bit here, and you can kind of see that hook right there, just to the south of Chester, to the northeast of Perryville. Again, a supercell storm there that's kind of taking on that classic signature there. And back to the north up towards Effingham, another one. And that flashing polygon just north of the tri-state there is for destructive damaging winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. So that was kind of the concern there with that storm. And did have that tornado down in Sikeston, Missouri earlier. Did have one that pushed through the St. Louis metro area earlier. Other than that, we haven't seen a ton of tornado reports. So far, knock on wood, everything's been good. But again, this cold front, that's going to be the end of the severe weather right there. That will be pushing into our northwestern counties of Clay County here probably over the next 30 to 60 minutes here. Put the radar into motion here. New sweep coming across too, so you'll see that update here shortly. Still not a whole lot going on here in the tri-state. Again, watching this storm that's going to be pushing into Hopkins County here shortly. Again, rotation has improved a little bit. You kind of see that hook really starting to wrap around, but that looks to say just south of Hopkins County. You're definitely going to see the large hail. So if you're Dawson Springs, Nortonville, south of Madisonville, you can expect some hail potentially of up to 3 inches as this storm pushes off to the east. Again, back to the west, got additional storms firing here. Again, these will probably be severe warned. Again, a little bit of a notch rotation there just to the west of Carbondale. Again, the cold front is back here, so pretty much from Effingham back to Pinckneyville. Again, it's clear where the cold front is, but back here, back across southeast Missouri, even back into northeast Arkansas, all the way up here to just south of Mount Vernon, we have several storms that are firing that will push towards the metro here shortly. So really starting to see this hook tighten up here just to the east of Eddyville. Starting to see the rotation increase. That's near Lamasco. Should be crossing I-24 here shortly, pushing through the lakes area. Again, pretty impressive hook there. Not too far from the I-69, I-24 corridor there. I'll be pushing towards the Crofton area. Should stay just south of Hopkins County. In Hopkins County, you guys need to be concerned about the hail of up to 3 inches in diameter. Definitely have seen lightning increase quite a bit. Even some winds pushing through Princeton and Dawson Springs right now. Again, some times of arrival there. Dawson Springs, 6:06. St. Charles at 6:14. Crofton at 6:17. Nortonville and White Plains, 6:20 and 6:24. We'll see if that polygon is extended, which we'll most likely see it extended into the rest of southern Hopkins County and then into most of Muhlenberg County. Again, other than that, it's been quiet. Again, there's a tornado with this storm up here near Bloomfield to the west of Bloomington. Again, confirmed tornado on the ground up there to the west of Bloomington. Again, a strong storm getting ready to push into Tell City, pushing across northern Hancock County, will be pushing into southern Perry County as well. Yeah, big picture, you can see where the front's located. That's pretty much where the storms are at. Kind of watching this to see if it continues to grow upscale. Again, damaging wind would be the main, or damaging winds and a few embedded tornadoes would be the main concern with that. So Yeah, I do have a tornado on the ground now down in Lyon County. Again, we've been watching that kind of tighten up. We do have a tornado debris signature near Lamasco, which is along I-24 there in Lyon County. And this rotation should stay south of Hopkins County. But again, if you're in Hopkins County, you're going to see the large hail and even some damaging winds potentially. And they have upgraded that tornado warning now to observed. So you see the pink polygon. Again, it's mainly for southern sections here. So this is where the tornadic circulation is. It should miss Hopkins County. It'd be pretty close. But again, starting to see moistening in the low to mid levels. So that will continue over the next couple hours. There is some drier air that most likely was responsible for the lack of tornado production so far. That might change over the couple hours, especially as we start seeing that low level moisture increase. Again, really starting to see storms fire off to the west here, but again, we'll continue to keep an eye on it as these storms move in ahead of the cold front. You got some 1.5 hail there in Princeton, Kentucky. That's just outside the area we cover. The Weather Service in Louisville's issued a special weather statement for Hancock and southern Perry County. That's for that storm that's pushing here into the Tell City area. Again, could see some 40-mile-an-hour winds, maybe some half-inch hail. So if you're in Hallsville, Candleton by 6:06, and then outside our area here around 6:30. Again, if you're watching across southern Illinois, even the metro area, Evansville, Henderson, again, it's probably going to be about another hour, hour and a half before we see these storms push into the metro area. Again, right now, the greatest severe weather threat is along and south at 64. Uh, Most of the storms that are north of the tri-state are staying just outside of the tri-state, so we do have that gap in between there. Again, these storms off to the west continue to fire. They'll be pushing towards the Evansville metro area here probably in the next hour to hour and a half, so definitely want to be prepared here as we head into about the 7 o'clock hour to seek shelter when these storms move into the area. Again, nothing confirmed tornado wise with those storms. The only confirmed tornado we have is just to the south of Hopkins County there, and then the other one just to the north of Davies County, Indiana, and Martin County, Indiana. Again, a lot of hail reports coming in from Murfreesboro over there in southwest Illinois. Quarter size hail, even some bigger size hail reported as well. Yeah, kind of seeing this storm move a little bit more to the southeast here. We'll see if this stuff kind of grows upscale here. Again, there's some times of arrival with the potential tornadic circulation. So it's getting into our area of responsibility there about 6:30. Then getting ready to approach the Ohio River by about 7 o'clock. So we're keeping an eye on it. You can kind of see that hook, that notch there. Again, nothing's been confirmed yet as far as anything on the ground. In rotation with the Hopkins County storm is staying south of the county. And that would be pushing into the Crofton area. We'll take a look at that from the Hopkinsville radar. Switch products here and go zoom in. Again, you can see kind of where that notch is. All right, the Weather Service has gone with a severe thunderstorm warning, so that's for southwestern Muhlenberg County, then southeastern Hopkins County. Again, that tornado threat's still kind of south here, so right here is where that notch is, just north of Cadiz, Kentucky. Then across this area, which you'll see this new polygon pop up here in a minute, that's kind of where the severe thunderstorm threat is, and the very large hail again. That's kind of the for the flashing polygon there. That's destructive, so that's for 2.75 inch diameter hail. So if you're in southern Hopkins County, southwestern Muhlenberg County, expect hail up to potentially 3 inches in diameter and strong damaging winds as well. And the tornadic portion of that storm is right here. Again, haven't seen much in the way of rotation or even reports. Definitely not tight circulation there, so. But definitely going to be dealing with the hail, so you can see this yellow area. That's where the hail is getting into the reds. That's where we're seeing the very large hail. Even with the darker reds, yellows, still seeing quite a bit of hail, especially in this area. So that's why that new polygon for the severe thunderstorm warning was issued. pea-sized hail reported in Dawson Springs. Again, strongest part of that storm's there, pushing across southern portions of Hopkins County. Go back to the Evansville radar here. Again, you can see those considerable tags coming out for these storms that are getting ready to push into Hamilton and Saline County. So we'll likely see warnings come out here shortly, which I think just came out now. Nope, that was for the Hopkins County one. Just got that notification. But we'll see those severe thunderstorm warnings likely expanded here into the tri-state as this cluster of thunderstorms pushes into the tri-state. Again, very large hail would be possible with those storms. Again, if you're in Hopkins County, you guys are now just under the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, hail potentially up to 3 inches diameter. Definitely seeing some damaging winds pretty much from Dawson Springs. We'll be pushing into Nortonville here shortly. So some 50 to 60 mile an hour winds could be expected as well. But again, hail's the main concern. That's the reason why that new severe thunderstorm warning was issued. Again, really starting to see storms blossom here across Hamilton County, getting ready to push into White County. Again, you'll see this big old storm getting ready to push into Saline County right now. Only the southern portion of the storm where that hook is, just near the Marion area, just south of Carbondale. But you can even see the 4-inch in diameter hail right there. So expect some very large hail if you're in Harrisburg, Glacier, El Dorado, Ridgeway, Omaha. Again, northern portion of this storm is where the hail is going to be at. Then the tornado threats here on the southern portion of the storm. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that as it pushes into the tri-state. Again, have seen this storm here just to the south of Hopkins County come down a bit in intensity. So again, we'll continue to monitor that as that storm moves into the moves south the tri-state. Put the radar into motion here. You can see how those storms have blossomed here just to the west of Evansville. Again, if you're in Evansville, it's looking about another hour before these storms move in. Again, pretty much along and south, the 64 is where the threat's going to be right now. We'll see if anything fires along the front across Clay or Wayne County, but you guys might be in the clear. We'll see what happens. Again, if you're in Saline County, Harrisburg, Carrier Mills, Mitchellsville, you guys need to be ready just because a tornadic portion of that storm is going to be pushing towards that area here in about the next 30 to 45 minutes. Not seeing a debris signature yet, but definitely seeing some rotation. Hasn't really tightened up yet. Still pretty broad, but something we got to keep an eye on as it continues to push off to the east. And if you're in Dawson Springs, Nortonville, Mannington, you guys are getting the heavy rain, some hail, and gusty winds. Even a little bit of gusty winds pushing into the Morton's Gap area. Yeah, with this storm that's just to the west of Saline County, so we do have strong low-level shear, mid-level shear's moderate right now, so definitely got to keep an eye on it because it is in a favorable area where we could see a tornado be produced at any time. So there's a 79% chance based on this algorithm we have on our program of a tornado forming, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, tornado warning's been canceled. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for southern Hopkins County and the southwest Muhlenberg County. Kind of even looks like that rotation might miss Muhlenberg County. We'll have to keep an eye on it, though. Definitely starting to see an uptick in lightning, so we're up to 439 strikes here in this area. We'll go off to the west here, see how many we're seeing here again. This is kind of where we're keeping an eye out for that rotation there, which is near Heron. We'll go take a look at it from the Paducah radar because it's closer right now. Yeah, Paducah, you got to keep an eye on another storm that's off to your west. It's tornado warned right now, but again, you can see this large hook here, and we're starting to see it kind of wrap up here. So you can kind of see that little notch right there where it looks like this is starting to tighten up. So if we see this tighten up, then when the tornado threat's really going to increase. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on. We want to see this really wrap up and start curling, kind of the comma shape to it. So right now it's still pretty broad, but seeing this last scan, kind of starting to see it tighten up a little bit. We got to keep an eye on it as this could be dropping a tornado before it gets into Saline County. So if you're in Saline County, you need to be ready to seek shelter quickly as the storm quickly moves off to the east. And a strong storm pushing through Norris City and Omaha. New severe thunderstorm warning just for the storm we just talked about for southern White County, southeastern Hamilton County, and northern Posey County. That goes till 7 p.m. So ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds will be possible. Again, this storm's trucking off to the east at 65 miles an hour. So pretty much moving at interstate speed. So definitely got to be prepared to seek shelter. We'll go up here to take a look at that. This storm right here that's in Norris City. We'll see that polygon pop up here in a second as all that data loads. And you can see that polygon right there. We'll do some times of arrival here. Again, Norris City at 6:18. Sorry about that. Had another box pop up on the screen. Monty by 6:32. New Harmony at 6:39. Blairsville at 6:46. Poseyville at 6:47. Then outside the polygon, once it gets into Cynthiana, Highland, Darmstadt, we're looking at close to 7 o'clock. Again, that's for this storm right here. Additional storms behind it we'll keep an eye on. Again, we'll watch this because you can kind of start seeing that hook develop there. Could see some rotation. Again, with low-level moisture, low to mid-level moisture increase, and we could see that tornado threat uptick, especially as the cold fronts kind of providing that lift we need to get these storms really going. Again, the flashing yellow boxes, that's destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. Red polygons are just regular tornado warnings. Nothing confirmed with those. Anything that's confirmed, you'll see the hot pink box like north here near Linton. Yeah, we'll go back to the Evansville radar to take a look at that storm there just off to the west of Evansville. And so if you're in Norris City, definitely going to see some large hail, potentially up to 2 inches. Can kind of see that notch trying to develop. We'll see if this storm starts spinning. Again, it is out ahead of this main blob of storms, which kind of gives it a favorable environment where it's getting good inflow, not going into air that's hasn't been worked over. So this storm has the potential to tighten up, could produce a tornado. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. Definitely looking like we might have a tornado, yeah, to the west of Saline County. So it's just to the south of Marion, Illinois right now, and that has been confirmed by emergency management. So there is a tornado on the ground. That's to the south of Marion, Illinois, getting ready to cross I-55. So if you're in Saline County, you need to be prepared because we do have a tornado on the ground. We'll see that polygon. Actually, it's already updated on your screen. You can see the hot pink box there. Again, this is where that tornado is located. So broad polygon here, but if you're in Cereal Springs, 632, Stone Fort at 641, Carrier Mills at 646, Equality by 706, Junction at 712, Shawneetown by 715. Again, it's kind of going to move more in this line right here. We'll see if it starts pushing off to the northeast, kind of like what this storm's doing here in the North City, but definitely a tornado on the ground. Do have a debris signature as well, TDS, and even a debris ball starting to develop just to the south of Marion there. Start to see that on the scan there. And we're looking, let's see. Go back to the Paducah radar. Let's get a better shot looking closer then. Yep, large debris ball confirmed on radar now. So again, this scan kind of looks a little bit later, but you can kind of see it wrapping up here. Let's see, it's tornado emergency will be coming out per the National Weather Service in Paducah. So we do have a large debris ball. We actually have velocities maxed out. So I'm looking at another product behind the scenes here, and the velocities are maxed out. So a tornado emergency is going to be in effect for Marion, Illinois, and also potentially the Cereal Springs area. So if you're in Saline County, we have a confirmed large and dangerous tornado on the ground. Debris signature and debris ball on radar. So velocities are maxed out. So very strong tornado likely on the ground, especially with our velocity values maxed out. And let's see. So our we have strong shear at all levels. So obviously no surprise that we have a large tornado on the ground there. Let me switch over. We'll go to a different product here because for some reason we're not getting an update on that scan. I'm going to go over to our other program that I normally use behind the scenes, but we can take a look at a whole lot more. Let me get that switched over here. And there you have it right there. That's where your debris ball is. Hang on one second. Your debris ball is right here. So that's where debris is being lofted and being detected by the radar. Again, this is where your tornado is. So you can see this area here where we don't have any velocity signatures. That tells us that velocity is maximized and we're exceeding what's on the color table here. So that tells us we have a very strong tornado on the ground. This blue area here is where debris is being lofted there in to the south of Marion. I'm going to go back to the Evansville radar. For some reason, the Paducah radar is not updating there. Again, see that new scan that just popped up? Debris ball is still visible, passing between Marion and Cereal Springs. So definitely a very large tornado. We do have a TDS and debris ball signature, so that confirms the tornado is on the ground. Again, tornado emergency. Let me see what yeah. I think it just updated the warning. Did a PDS, but they did say in chat they were going to do a tornado emergency. I'm not sure what that's going to, who it's going to include. Yeah, tornado emergency for southeastern Williamson County and southern Saline County. That goes until 7 p.m. A confirmed large and destructive tornado was observed near Hudgens or near Cereal Springs, moving east at 60 miles an hour. So a tornado emergency is in effect for southeastern Williamson and southern Saline County. Again, life-threatening situation. We're talking about a life-threatening situation, a very large and destructive tornado. This storm has nothing to impede it right now, so it's going to continue until it cycles. So if you're in Carrier Mills, if you're in Harrisburg, if you're in Mitchellsville, you need to be in a substantial shelter right now. Tornado emergency in effect. Tornado emergency includes Harrisburg, Carrier Mills, Mitchellsville. You guys are included in the tornado emergency. A very large destructive tornado. Again, velocity values are maxed out on our radar program. So that tells us we have a significant tornado on the ground. Again, debris ball right here, TDS right here, debris being lofted into the air, being picked up by radar. Nice donut here in velocity. That tells us our velocity values are maxed out. So that's why it's not detecting the actual velocity with those signatures, because we've reached the extreme end of our color table. So our color table goes up to 120 knots on each side, inbound and outbound. So again, significant tornado pushing into Saline County. Again, tornado emergency for a very large tornado that is on the ground and has been confirmed. So you definitely want to be in a substantial shelter, a basement. Definitely don't want to be in a mobile home or a vehicle. So you definitely want to find substantial shelter. Do not get in your vehicle and try to outrun the tornado. Again, lives can be lost with that. Definitely need to just get in a substantial shelter. Again, that is just south of Marion. Again, still updated scans. Still have the debris ball. Still have the TDS on correlation coefficient. So we do obviously have a very large tornado to the south of Marion. We'll put that into motion a little bit, and you can kind of see kind of moving off to the east-northeast a little bit more. So if you're in Carrier Mills, definitely got to be in a substantial shelter. This large and extremely dangerous tornado is pushing towards your area right now. So Carrier Mills, Illinois, substantial shelter, large tornado on the ground. Again, we have seen velocity values come down, so that's a good sign. Hopefully we're seeing a cycle or maybe even weaken. So on the latest scan, we actually have our velocity values filled back in there. So definitely, hopefully we're just seeing it cycle, maybe weaken a little bit, but you definitely still got to be in a substantial shelter, as this is a very large tornado that's on the ground. Again, this tornado's passing between Marion, Illinois, and Cereal Springs. We'll be in Saline County in probably about the next 10 minutes or so. So if you're in Carrier Mills, you are in the path of this destructive tornado. So you definitely need to be in a substantial shelter, as the storm moves into Saline County. Yeah, we are posting up a picture on Twitter to where you need to be in substantial shelter. And if you're in Carrier Mills, very large tornado on the ground. I'm actually watching a video that was just posted up on Twitter. So good sized wedge tornado that's on the ground. Definitely growing in size in this video. So again, if you're in southern Saline County, you're under a tornado emergency. That means a significant tornado is getting ready to bear down on your area. So if you're in that polygon, you need to be in a substantial shelter. Again, this is a life-threatening situation, a very large, violent tornado. Again, tornado emergencies are very rare and only issued when it is a life-threatening situation. Again, kind of seeing it cycle a little bit, but we still do have a debris ball and we do have a TDS still. So you got to take these warnings seriously and seek substantial shelter. Again, velocities have come down a little bit, which is encouraging. Here's your debris ball, which is north of Cereal Springs. Your TDS, where your debris field here is this large blue area that's kind of extending out further. So this is where debris is being detected by dual pole radar being lofted. So where we see these light blues, that's where debris's been lofted into the air. So if you're in Carrier Mills, this tornado is on the path to impact your area. So you need to be in a substantial shelter. New severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southwestern White, Saline, southern Hamilton, and Gallatin County. That goes till 7:15. 2-inch diameter hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds will be possible. See that polygon pop up here. That's going to be for the northern portion. There you go. That polygon that just popped up here. So this is where a lot of the hail and wind is on the northern part of the storm. Down here is where the tornado is at on the southern portion of this storm. So definitely you got to be prepared to seek shelter immediately. Yeah, and the good news is start to see this storm cycle. So hopefully this tornado has weakened a little bit. Again, it's getting ready to cross into Saline County. Again, happens. Start to see this rotation broaden out here. It's not as tight as what it was a while ago. Still a little bit of a debris ball here just to the northwest of Cereal Springs. And we could see this cycle back quickly. Again, have seen mid-level shear come down a little bit, so that's probably why we're seeing this storm cycle. So we'll see if it tightens back up. If it does, then we're going to see that tornado form here just to the west of Carrier Mills right here in this area. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on here over the next few minutes. Again, might even be a new tornado developing there just straight west of Carrier Mills. Kind of see that rotation right there. This one's probably occluding. And this one here might become the new rotation. So we'll see if that's the case here on the latest scan whenever it comes up here. Again, tornado emergency continues. That's for southern Saline County. And if you're in Harrisburg, you're going to see some large hail here shortly. And that's that hail core is pretty much tracking right along State Route 13 there. So Harrisburg, you can expect strong damaging winds and large hail. Carrier Mills and Mitchellville, you guys need to be on guard for the tornado. Again, this rotation has occluded, still a debris signature just to the northwest of Stone Fort, getting ready to cross into Saline County. What I'm watching here is to see if this new rotation is going to develop near Carrier Mills, and that could be where the new tornado forms as the southern end one occludes. Again, it's in a favorable environment, has no storms to the south of it, so it's getting a good inflow into the storm. So that inflow comes in here. That's where the inflow comes into the storm. If we had another storm down here, it'd cut that inflow off into that storm. So we just got to watch to see where this tightens up, where the new storm develops, our new rotation develops. Again, if you're in Clay and Wayne County, the front is coming through your area right now. There's nothing on the board there. So again, everywhere south of 64 right now is where we're concerned about the severe potential where you're under the gun for very large hail and tornadoes. Again, I haven't seen any additional videos. An update to the tornado emergency from the National Weather Service in Paducah. Tornado warning continues till 7 p.m. for southeastern Williamson and southern Saline County. 6:38, a confirmed large and destructive tornado was located near Carrier Mills, or about 9 miles west of Harrisburg, moving east at 55 miles an hour. Tornado emergencies in effect for Dikersburg and Carrier Mills. In particularly dangerous situation, take cover now. Again, this is a life-threatening situation, so definitely want to be in a substantial shelter, want to be indoors. As many walls between you and the outside as possible. New severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southeastern Muhlenberg County. That goes till 7:15. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, a $50 size hail. Again, we're still seeing this storm cycle. So you can see this hook and how it's elongated now, kind of moving more north-south. So if we want to see a tornado form, we really want to see this hook tighten up and start curling in here. And that might be what the case is here with that new triangle that popped up there near Carrier Mills. That's what we're trying to see here. If that new rotation is going to form here and this tighten up. Yeah, I think we're seeing that tighten up just north of Carrier Mills here. Getting some updates here. We'll see what that looks like here in a second. Tornado up there in Linton and Sullivan was huge. And we're down to 76% probability, but we still have strong low-level shear. Mid-level shear is down to moderate, but again, I think the storm is cycling and we're starting to see it tighten up. Should be getting an update here in a second. Again, large hails pushing through Harrisburg into Muddy, Wasson, and El Dorado here shortly. Again, watching some videos of that tornado as it was north of Marion, Illinois. Definitely a very strong tornado. Getting up to 82% probability based on our algorithm here. Yeah, not as organized as what it was earlier. I think we're seeing this storm reorganize right now, so. We'll back up here to Posey County. We got to open up another radar program. That way I can be on Evansville and Paducah. Be easier to switch. Again, you can see really how that storm's cycling right now. Again, we still had debris, which is visible on the radar. It's pushing through the Carrier Mills area, so I wouldn't be surprised to see debris falling in the Mitchellsville, Carrier Mills area from when the tornado was on the ground. Again, still waiting for that hook to tighten up. Probably had that storm weaken just because it's starting to ingest this storm that's over Posey County and then over Hamilton and White County. Again, still mainly just a hail threat. That storm's kind of really weakened there as it's pushing into Posey County. Again, this storm's kind of becoming the dominant one here. Again, you can see that hail core there just north of Harrisburg. Like a tornado on the ground in Bloomington, Indiana. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for south central Muhlenberg County again. Hail up to 2 inches in diameter. 60 miles an hour winds. That's pushing through Muhlenberg County right now. We'll go over take a look at it here. Again, do have a little bit of a hook. Probably a tornado developing there. You can see that hook pretty tight there. That's staying just south of Muhlenberg County. That's pushing through Todd County there. Yeah, we're looking at it from Paducah, so that's likely a loft. Again, back to the Saline County storm. Still some rotation right here, but that hook is still elongated. Definitely want to see it tighten up more if you want to see that rotation tighten up. Again, Weather Service has dropped the tornado emergency. They continue with a PDS tornado warning. So a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located near Carrier Mills or near Harrisburg, moving east at 55 miles an hour. Again, Weather Spotter confirmed tornado. This storm has its history of producing severe structural damage. It could produce another strong tornado at any time. Again, that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on right now, just to see where it drops the new tornado. Again, definitely got to see that hook tighten up again. It's still pretty elongated. And if we do see a new tornado develop, it's going to be pretty close there to the Harrisburg area. Again, confirmed tornado now. Just south of Muhlenberg County. It's outside our area of responsibility, but that will stay out of Muhlenberg County. Muhlenberg County, you guys are going to see the very large hail. And if you're in Gallatin, Union, extreme southern Posey County, you guys need to be prepared for some very large hail damaging winds. Across Gallatin County, southern portions of it, you probably see a tornado warning issued here shortly. And rotation is starting to tighten up a little bit near Mitchellsville. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if it continues to tighten up. We are seeing hail increase in size diameter. And if you're in just northeast of Mitchellsville, Equality, Shawneetown, you guys want to be prepared to seek shelter immediately. And this is a look at the storm from the Paducah radar. And that's where the rotation is. Not seeing a debris signature right now. Definitely picking up some hail there, so that's where some hail's falling right there. Another area near Harrisburg. Here in the metro, nothing threatening yet. Kind of watching these storms try to fire off to the north. Here across North City, back towards Broughton, seeing some damaging winds there. So if you're in southern White County, and if you're in southern Posey County, be prepared for potential for damaging winds. Again, main tornado threat right now is across southern Saline County. Saline County. You'll be pushing into Gallatin County here shortly. Yeah, we're looking at it from the Paducah radar. It has the best shot into the storm. And that rotation is to the west-northwest of, east-northeast of Mitchellsville. And another storm right on the tail there, producing damaging winds. Yeah, we're still sitting at 87% probability. The thing that's preventing the tornado from really forming is moderate mid-level shear. But the other parameters are in pretty good shape on the storm here in southern Saline County, getting ready to push into Gallatin County. We'll see if the Weather Service decides to continue the tornado warning, which I believe they will. There is still a little bit of rotation there. It's going to be just south of Equality. Just had an update to our program here. So we're up to 88% now. So again, strong low-level shear, moderate mid-level shear. Again, our 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity is up to 345. So this thing should drop a new tornado anytime now. Definitely in a favorable environment. So we are starting to see that hook starting to tighten up more here. So if you're in southern Gallatin County, you'll likely see that tornado warning extended. Definitely starting to see some debris signature now. Starting to see it curl, tighten up again. Be approaching State Route 1 here in about 10 or 15 minutes. Equality and Shawneetown, you're likely seeing some very large hail. This tornado is just south of Equality. Again, you guys are not included in the tornado warning, but I imagine the Weather Service in Paducah is drawing that warning up now, and it should be coming out here shortly. There's a new tornado warning, so in effect for southeastern Saline County, southern Gallatin County, and west central Union County until 7:30. This is a PDS tornado warning. A confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado is located near Equality or 10 miles southeast of Harrisburg, moving east at 55. So radar confirmed tornado. Again, we are seeing that hook starting to tighten up again, and we are seeing a bit of a debris signature on radar. So definitely getting concerned about another large destructive tornado. And quite a bit of damage in St. Louis. Apparently 4 dead and several injured in St. Louis from an earlier tornado. Still the best shot at this tornado from Paducah. Did have a 75-mile-an-hour wind gust at the Indianapolis International Airport. So, new update for the Storm Prediction Center. So, continuation of the tornado watch, watch number 265. We'll go ahead and pull that up on the screen and show you. Again, the strong tornadoes will be likely pretty much along and south of the Ohio River. That's where the high-end long-track tornadoes will be possible. So again, if along and south of the Ohio River, that's where the main tornado threat will be. And that's per the Storm Prediction Center. Again, straight line damaging winds of 75 to 90 miles an hour will be possible, and then hail greater than 4 inches in diameter will be possible. So again, that's for the tornado watch that remains in effect for number 265. And we're watching this storm cycle across southern Gallatin County. And some large hail probably falling in Equality. Again, that rotation should be getting pretty close to State Route 1 there in Gallatin County. Some very large hail falling in Equality. That would be pushing into Shawnee Towns. It should be just south of Ridgeway. Definitely going to see some 2-inch diameter hail or bigger. Yeah, and right now the main severe threat's along and south I-64. So if you're in Wayne County, Clay County, and Richland County, you guys are almost in the clear, and the severe threat's over with there. You kind of make out the boundary there. Only storms really threatening the metro right now are in White County and Posey County. And tornadoes right now are pretty much south of the Ohio River. And definitely seen this hail core increase here across Equality, so it'll be moving into Shawnee Town here shortly, but most likely a very strong tornado still on the ground, still have a debris signature, and it looks like we have a debris ball trying to develop again. Again, you can really see how it's tightening up, kind of seeing that increase right here in reflectivity, most likely indicating some debris that is aloft. So that tornado should be crossing State Route 1. New severe thunderstorm warning in effect for northeastern Gallatin, southwestern Vandenberg, southern Posey, central Henderson, and central Union County. Severe thunderstorm moving east at 60 miles an hour. Golf ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds could be expected. Again, that's for the northern part of this tornadic storm. This is where that hail core is falling. And another one right here. Then the new severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Saline County. Again, that's the storm that's on the heels of this first tornado warning storm. So 60-mile-an-hour winds and $half size hail. Again, looking at some products behind the scenes here. Bear with me. Again, rotation is just south of Shawneetown right now. Again, that warning is for the supercell. So it just clips the river bottoms of Vanderburgh County and the river bottoms of Posey County. Again, that's for the hail and damaging winds associated with this tornadic storm. So that's where you're going to see those damaging winds and hail potentially up to 2 inches in diameter. Still seeing pretty good storm relative helicity values on this storm in southern Gallatin County. Again, we're up to 300 meters squared, seconds squared, so that's pretty high. That's kind of what we're looking at for those helicity values to be that high. So when you see anything over 200, that's when you really get concerned about tornadoes. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Definitely starting to see hail values increase again. Pretty large tornado getting ready to move into the Columbus, Indiana area, Brown County. I'm looking at our Evansville tower cam right now as these storms start approaching the metro. Again, right now, nothing imminent in the metro. Yeah, definitely seeing rotation increase south of Shawneetown. So that's getting ready to cross the Ohio River. It would be between Morganfield and Hensall. So if you're in Morganfield or Hensall, you need to be in substantial shelter, as we're really starting to see this rotation really tighten up again. Update to the tornado watch. So Clay, Lawrence, and Richland County, you guys have been cleared from the tornado watch. The severe threat has ended there. So our northwestern counties, you guys are in the clear for severe weather. Again, if you're in Clay, Richland, and Lawrence County, the tornado watch has been canceled. You guys are in the clear for severe weather tonight. Again, if you're in Edwards, Wabash, Knox, Gibson, right now you guys have nothing on the board there. Again, the strongest storms are along and south of the Ohio River right now. That's where our tornadic storms are at. Again, some very large hail pushing through Shawneetown. Again, that rotation should be crossing into Union County here shortly. New tornado warning in effect for central Gallatin, southwestern Henderson County, and central Union County. That goes till 8 p.m. Again, a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located near Shawneetown, moving east at 50. So that's the same storm we've been watching, so that warning has been extended. So Morganfield, you're included in that. Corden, Smith Mills, you guys will likely be included in that warning. There you go. It has popped up on the screen. Actually goes all the way up to the Henderson metro area, so again, we have a camera there in Corden, so hopefully we'll pick up on that storm here shortly, see if we can pick up on any rotation or anything. Yeah, that rotation's right here on the southern end of that hook. Kind of looking at it from both the Evansville and the Paducah radar. Definitely tell the storm's getting better structurally, so you could kind of see that hook starting to develop there, starting to tighten up and curl a little bit more. So when we see that, we know that this storm is cycling, and we're likely going to see a new tornado drop at any time. Again, if you're in Evansville, you guys are just not included in that severe thunderstorm warning. That does not include the city itself. You do have showers and thunderstorms pushing through the metro. They are sub-severe right now, but could see a little bit of hail, especially across Posey County. Those storms pushing into Vanderburgh County. Could see a little bit of hail with those. Again, the main severe threat, tornadic threat, is here across Union County and then eventually Henderson County. That tornadic storm will stay south of Evansville. So right now, Evansville, you don't have anything to worry about as far as a tornado. So nothing in the city. Again, Henderson, you're on the far end of that warning. We'll have to continue to monitor the track of this storm. Again, the polygon gets bigger at the end because those storms can always change track, so they widen that polygon as it moves through. So that's why you see Henderson all the way down to Roberts included in that warning, just because these storms can change track and they don't always follow the polygon. So again, Henderson, you are included in that tornado warning. Again, Evansville, you are not under any warnings right now. That is just for the extreme river bottoms of southern Vanderbilt County. Again, rotation is near the Henshaw, Kentucky area. Again, we'll be approaching Morganfield here shortly. So you definitely need to be in a substantial shelter. Again, large hail will be pushing through Uniontown here shortly. Also into Morganfield, kind of rural areas of northwestern Union County. A funnel cloud was reported with the Shawneetown storm. And that rotation is going to be coming pretty close to Morganfield here. And if we see that mid-level shear tighten up, then I definitely think we'll see a tornado drop again. Go ahead and get our cordon camera pulled up here. It will potentially be in the path of this storm. And we got some hail falling here at the office, so yeah, really starting to see that notch tighten up again just west of Morganfield. So if you're in Morganfield, you need to be in a substantial shelter, as you likely have a large tornado on the ground. to watch the hail size here so we can relay those reports to the Weather Service. And that rotation is pretty tight near Henshaw. It's going to be pretty close to the Morganfield area here shortly. And really seeing that hook tighten back up again over Union County. And we're looking at it from the Evansville radar on your screen. You can see that rotation. While it's still broad, it is tightening up there. Maybe even a little bit of debris signature there. So if you're in Morganfield, it's probably moving into the city limits now. And if you're in Uniontown, if you're in Smith Mills, Henderson, you're getting ready to see some very large hail. See that large core right there? And if you're in Vanderburgh, Warwick County, some strong storms producing a little bit of hail. That's it right now. You know, we had some dime-size hail fall here at the office for about 2 or 3 minutes. That's all we had. I did get a report of debris falling in Mount Vernon, Indiana, which wouldn't surprise me if we did have a tornado on the ground then. In Evansville, just showers and thunderstorms. Could be some small hail. Nothing tornadic, no damaging winds. The only tornadic storm of concern here in the tri-state is a storm that's in Union and Henderson County. And then we will have another one that will impact Hopkins County here within the next hour or so. Again, behind that, across the Salina, Gallatin County, another severe thunderstorm hot on the heels of the tornadic storm. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Not preceding tornado. Probably definitely a tornado on the ground in Morganfield. Definitely seeing that rotation tighten up. That hook really starting to become defined again. Yeah, seeing a little bit of a debris signature as well. We'll see on the next scan if we have a TDS or not. Even from the Paducah radars, we're getting a good hook on that. So if you're in Morganfield, definitely need to be in substantial shelter as a strong tornado is likely getting ready to push through the town. So again, waiting for a new scan to come in across here. Again, we're back up to 89% tornado probability. Yeah, definitely a tornado in Morganfield. Debris balls starting to develop. So if you're in Morganfield, you need to be in a substantial shelter as we have a likely very large tornado on the ground. And we'll see if the Weather Service goes with a tornado emergency. And Union County EMA reporting a tornado on the ground and debris in the air. So if you're in Morganfield, Kentucky, significant tornado impacting these city limits right now. You need to be in substantial shelter. Again, others in the path here should stay just south of Waverly. So Cairo, even towards the pool area, should stay just south of Cordon. Again, very strong tornado likely on the ground. We'll see if the Weather Service decides to go with a tornado emergency or not. And emergency management is saying the tornado is just south of Morganfield. That does line up with radar fairly well here. EM's reporting is going to Alps and HR Ag. So if you know where that's at in Morganfield, that's where that tornado is moving right now. If you're in Waverly, Cairo, Pool, you guys are in the path of this destructive tornado. Again, obvious debris ball on radar now, just south of Morganfield. So I imagine the Weather Service in Paducah is going to go to tornado emergency here and upgrade that, as it is definitely confirmed. Again, I got our tower cam pulled up in Cordon. Again, definitely a green sky, plenty of lightning. I think it's going to stay just south of Cordon, but we'll see if we could try to pick up anything on our camera when it moves through, as long as we don't have a lot of precipitation. But we're kind of right there on the edge. So again, if you're in Morganfield, Kentucky, very large tornado on the ground, have a debris signature and debris ball on the south side. Storm Chaser has tornado on camera near Morganfield. Again, probably likely a wedge tornado. So if you're in Union County, then you need to be in a substantial shelter, as we have a large tornado on the ground. I'm trying to see if there's any video up on here. Again, if you're in Waverly, just south of Waverly, large tornado that's going to be passing just south of town. Again, pass through Morganfield now. And debris ball just south of the city limits of Morganfield, but you're likely seeing debris falling in Morganfield, Kentucky. Very large debris field now on radar. Yeah, tornado warning continues for Union County. They have not upgraded it to an emergency, but it should be, as it's a very large tornado. Do have a debris ball and do have a TDS on radar, so that confirms there is being debris lofted into the air. So if you're just east of Morganfield, pretty much along and south of US 60, you need to be in a substantial shelter. That will be pushing into southwestern Henderson County here shortly. In Union County, multiple houses heavily damaged. That's reported by the fire department there in Union County. Again, large tornado on the ground near Morganfield. And updating some social media products right now, but still here with you. Yeah, that tornado is just south of Morganfield. Poole, Kentucky, you guys need to be in a substantial shelter between Poole and Cairo. That's where it looks like to be heading. Look at the inflow into this storm. You can see it ripping from Smith Mills back to Waverly, coming into the storm where it's wrapping into the hook. Very, very impressive storm. So this thing's, it's going to be producing for a little bit. It's tapping into the environment here, and it's going to be on the ground for a bit because you can definitely see that inflow into the storm, and that's very impressive. Again, if you're in Roberts, Kentucky in the next 15 minutes, that storm's heading that way, a very large tornado. So Cairo, Poole, Roberts, if you're in Niagara, you need to be in a substantial shelter. Again, we can see that storm starting to move into Cordon, Kentucky. Very impressive structure to that storm. Let me get that camera pulled up, give you guys a look here. It's right along US 60 there, and I did have some reports of falling debris in Evansville and Newburgh. Again, if that's from anything, that's from the tornadic storm there in Union County. Let me switch you guys over here. We'll go to our recording camera. Let me get that open back up. Very, very impressive storm. See the inflow ripping into this storm. Whole storm's rotating. Again, we're going to rotate this camera around. I am trying to shoot some live video here from our camera in Cordon, Kentucky. You can really see the mesocyclone in this storm. This whole storm is rotating. Fortunately, the side of the storm I want to see is blocked by trees. But this storm is really ripping right now. Prolific lightning with this storm. You guys are seeing that on your camera as well. I did try to turn it a little bit more to the south here. Turn a little bit more to the west. And that tornado is just south of Waverly. Again, still have a debris ball and still have a TDS on radar. Again, getting some strong winds. You're definitely seeing the precipitation increase now. And Corden, you will not be hit by the tornado. It's going to pass just south. I'll try to get the camera turned back that way, but we're getting some pretty good winds here. I don't think we're going to be able to see this tornado because we're getting a lot of rain here. Might even lose this feed here in a second. Camera is really bouncing. Yeah, so much precipitation, we're not going to see it here from our Corden camera, unfortunately. A little bit further north, we would have got a good view of that tornado. Go back to our Evansville radar. Again, you can see how impressive this inflow is here into this storm. You have impressive inflow and impressive outflow. Inflow, you see this red area pretty much stretching from Henderson back through Corden. Your outflow, inflow, outflow coming together right here. So in Pool, Cairo, that's where you see all that coming together right there. So that's an impressive storm. And if you're in Evansville and Newburgh, nothing severe there. If you're in northern portions of the tri-state or north of I-64, you guys are in the clear for severe weather. The severe weather threat is right here along the Ohio River. Again, right behind this first supercell, we have another one behind it. It is showing signs of rotation, but it has not produced a tornado yet. Again, if you're in Cairo, Poole, or Robards, Kentucky, definitely need to be in a substantial shelter. Looks like this tornado is cycling. And you can kind of see this area of debris back here where there's likely debris falling from the sky from where the tornado was on the ground. Again, conditions have definitely improved quickly there in Corden. You can see how that picture's really cleared up. About 5 minutes ago, we couldn't see anything. Some pictures of the tornado from Morganfield. Very impressive tornado. That's shared by 14 WFIE. Switch over to our Henderson camera now that it's being clear in Corden. Again, Weather Service stating if that tornado's on the ground, should reach I-69 here in about 10 minutes. Again, there's nothing severe in the metro. Mainly some hail would be the main concern and some gusty winds. And the tornadoes are over southern Henderson County right now. A little bit of rotation with that storm that's pushing out of Gallatin County. And if you're in southern Davies County, you need to be prepared for tornado warnings to be issued here shortly. And reports coming into the Weather Service in Paducah, structural damage in Morganfield on the west side of the town. Again, if you're in Morganfield, you're getting ready to get hit by a severe storm now, so expect some strong gusty winds and large hail as well. And some injuries reported there in Morganfield. Downdraft winds here at the office. very strong storm here at the office. Hopefully we don't lose power, we'll see, but if we go off the air, it's because we're getting some downburst winds here at the office. Did measure a 44-mile-an-hour wind gust at our Henderson Mesonet site. It's on the south side of town. Our Smith Mill, we measured a 49-mile-an-hour wind gust at a 40 in Cordon, which was probably more than that based on that live video we had going there. And you can see this storm, how things have really cleared up there in Cordon, but you can see those clouds rapidly rotating. How impressive that storm is. I believe we just lost our Cordon camera. Yeah, our Cordon camera just went down, so I probably lost power or internet there. And getting rocked there in Henderson. And impressive storms pushing here through the metro. Yeah, no active warnings for Vanderburgh or Warwick. Southern Spencer County, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, along with north central Davies County and eastern Henderson County. And they haven't extended the tornado warning yet, but I imagine they will here shortly. See some clearing in Evansville, actual sunset as these storms clear. And we'll go back to radar here. You see the Evansville tower cam view there. Clouds pushing off to the northeast. And back to Henderson County. Again, that potential tornado would be pushing into the Robards area. Yeah, the tornado watch has been canceled for most of our southern Illinois counties as the severe threat is over now. Zoom out here a little bit. Again, you can see how that storm is wrapped up there. Rotation would be near Robards, but definitely not on the ground now. But you can see the inflow, the outflow on the storm, how things are, if it just comes together, then it would produce another tornado. Again, zoom out big picture here. All our southern Illinois counties, you guys are in the clear. The severe threat is over. If you're in Gibson, Pike, Du Bois, Knox, Martin, Davies County, Indiana, you guys are in the clear from the severe weather threat. Posey County, you're just about in the clear. Vanderburgh County, you're just about in the cleared. Again, Western Kentucky, you guys are all under the gun. So, again, that severe threat continues to come to an end. Again, if we have a tornado, it's near Robards, Kentucky. Pushing into southern Davies County here shortly. Again, we have pretty strong shear on all three levels, so this storm should be getting pretty close to producing. It measured a 50 mile an hour wind gust in Henderson. A lot of damage in Marion, Kentucky, Marion, Illinois. Homes leveled. Obviously a very strong tornado that went through there. And so some very heavy rain and strong winds here at our office. Yeah, new tornado warning in effect includes south central Davies County, northern McLean County. And Doppler radar indicated rotation. That rotation is just to the southeast of Robards, Kentucky. You'd be heading towards the West Louisville and Panther area, pushing through extreme northern McLean County. Yeah, getting some intense winds here at the office. I think we just gusted to 42 there.